Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, January 8th, 2024. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano.
Here.
Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar. Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we could remain standing, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Okay, we're going to go to item 3 is amendments to the agenda. I'd like to have someone entertain a motion to move item 8A to the next item, our presentation. Trustee Kozar?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova? Okay, discussion? Voice vote?
Yes,
Oh, just a voice vote's good?
yes.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, good. So we will move on to item 8A is the promotion of Officer Brian Ruby to Sergeant, the swearing in of Officer Elsa Franco as a full-time officer, and the swearing in of Officer Michael Raymond as a part-time officer. We'll turn that over to our Chief of Police, Mike Rivas.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Manager Harline, Village Board, we can't think of a better way to start 2024 than with the promotion, the swearing in of a full-time officer and a part-time officer. And as we get started, I could ask Officer Brian Ruby to join me. I promise you, Brian, that's the last time I'll say Officer Brian Ruby. I promise you. And also, we'd like to thank Village Clerk Rosanna Kornecki for her part in this. I'm just going to say a few words real quick. As we get started, I just wanted to let you know that Brian, he graduated from Downers Grove South High School and also received a degree, a bachelor's degree from Benedictine University. And he went to the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy, and he started with the Villa Park Police Department in March of 2002. And then from then on, Brian went on to become a detective, a K-9 officer, school resource officer, juvenile officer, and union steward. And Brian and I recently talked, and I told him that I was going to look through his file, and he said, did you see the 100 or so letters of commendation, appreciation, and thank you letters? And I just wanted to correct you, Brian, it was not 100, it was 124. And the point is that Brian is a very accomplished officer who brings a lot of energy, care, and problem solving to the work that he does. And we're absolutely sure that he'll do the same in this next role as a patrol sergeant. And now we'll get started with Hosanna and Officer Ruby.
Okay. Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Brian Ruby,
I, Brian Ruby,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of Illinois,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Police Department,
the rules and the regulations of the Villa Park Police Department,
and I will faithfully accept the responsibilities
and I will faithfully accept the responsibilities
and discharge the duties of police sergeant
and discharge the duties of police sergeant
for the Village of Villa Park
for the Village of Villa Park
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And now we'd like to ask Sergeant Ruby's wife, Dawn, to step forward.
On a delay. Time. We do have EMS here in case this is wrong.
No, it's okay.
And as we continue, I just wanted to say what an incredible show of support for the three officers we have here today. And now, next, we're going to ask Officer Elsa Franco to step forward. I felt like we just did this.
I know.
Elsa Franco was one of our part-time officers who then made our eligibility list and then is now here today to be sworn in as a full-time officer. A little bit about Officer Franco. She attended Glenbard North High School, and she got a degree from the College of DuPage. And she spent time as a part-time officer in Forest Park, Stone Park, an auxiliary officer for Stone Park, a records clerk for Stone Park, and River Forest. Did I leave any out?
Nope, I think you're good.
Okay. And again, we thank you for joining us once again, and we're sure that you're going to be an absolute success in joining the family. And again, Village Clerk Kuranecki, if you could do this. Here you go.
Okay, please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Elsa Franco,
I, Elsa Franco,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Police Department,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of probationary full-time police officer
of probationary full-time police officer
for the Village of Villa Park
for the Village of Villa Park
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, if Officer Franco's husband, Jose, would like to step forward. And last but not least, could I ask Michael Raymond to step up? A little bit about Michael Raymond. He had attended IC Catholic Prep in Elmhurst, and then also he had attended Triton College, where he received a business management degree. And currently, he is an auxiliary officer for the Elmwood Police Department, and he attended Suburban Law Enforcement Academy, where he spent some time as a police officer in Wooddale. And now, without further ado, if you'd step up to the village clerk.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Michael Raymond,
I, Michael Raymond,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Illinois,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the laws and ordinances of the Village of Villa Park,
the rules and regulations of the Villa Park Police
the
Department,
rules and regulations of the Villa Park Police Department,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of probationary part-time police officer
of probationary part-time police officer
for the Village of Villa Park
for the Village of Villa Park,
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now if we can ask Officer Raymond's wife, Gabriella, to step up.
Wait for the lag. Wait for the lag.
And now we're going to move the flags back, and we're going to take a picture with the entire village board. If we could ask all the Villa Park officers to step up for a photo.
And everybody take 2 steps to the left.
Thank you, guys.
Sir, yes, sir. One more.
Almost hit the door. They're gonna take it. They're gonna take another picture.
You guys called off all crime when this was
Yes.
going on.
No, just
I heard the fire. Oh, is there no fire?
They just gave us.
That's right.
we're was it nuts to butts back there?
Yeah, there he is.
said, you know, you feel safe. Every business in Village Park is getting closed because they're all here.
Madison, Lombard, and
Banks are getting broken into.
Yeah, that's right. You know, cooperation.
that's right. Perfect plan.
Yeah, I heard about that. The Ocean's 11 thing.
Yeah.
Now a silly one. Careful.
Thank you, everybody, for what you do. Thank you. Stay safe out there. Thank you. Good. How are you doing?
It's important.
Hey, Doris. Step aside. Sorry to hear you're leaving. Sorry to hear your priorities. I know it's a good reason. I know.
Like being loud at these
I know.
There's nobody on
Yeah. Oh, of course. Thank you. I know.
So congratulations, Sergeant Ruby and our two new police officers.
I know. Oh, I know.
That's my
Oh,
contribution.
yeah. I know. I remember when you came. Thanks, Doris. Bye-bye. Great turnout. Yeah.
The arrow screwed me off. Screwed me up. That's somebody paying attention.
Very good. During the whole time. That's a good. See their picture? It was so cute. Yeah, it's a cute. That's a good baby.
Take care, guys. See you later. Hey, take care. We'll see you.
Yeah. No, no relation. Maybe a cousin of my husband could be.
In the car, stay cool.
Yeah. You know, at some point.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
My uncle is John Corker. You don't know Ed Corker, do you? Ed Corker?
Sleep well, they're not ours. Just thank you, Jesus.
Hang out at the stable still.
It's all right. This doesn't happen that often. I mean, so it's all right.
I feel like I heard your name.
It breaks up the monotony of the night.
It's what, Ursula? I'll ask my dad about you. Yeah. I still see John every now and then. I'm going out to see him this summer. I will.
We're going to have public comments during.
Is it hot in here?
I'll try to come the same. That way you got it
That's
there.
nice. Thank
Mine's
you.
filled to the top for my wife.
Yourself? How's everything? I know.
Hey, Michael, take it easy.
I still good.
Yeah, stop by sometime.
Just trying to find more work. as usual, but hard. I want more work as a man.
Where, Lombard?
No one's taking the yellow?
Yeah.
I always tell them to be around here, but I
Don't accidentally.
can't everything on my
Yeah, right.
place that my business cards are not out of it.
It's word of the okay.
Should we do a voice vote there or just hit?
You could do a voice vote.
Okay.
Anywhere. I'll go anywhere.
Yeah. Use it or lose it. Said you gotta use it or lose it. Or you use it and lose it.
No, they haven't actually. No, they've never called me when I've never been out there.
Yeah, I'm
with
trying to enjoy the good times while they're here.
Extreme, which is right on the border, but no, never the Bartlett actually. That's because they have a Hanover Park still has a dog, and then you have all the towns up northwest Chicago. You usually go to that.
Get those guys to move the mic.
It's good to see you too. Nice. Elmhurst just got a sign.
You guys mind moving that lectern back here? Thank you. Everybody's here. Oh, if you want to move the lectern. Yes. Okay.
It's a good showing for that.
Yeah, we'll need that over there.
And we need it in the middle.
I didn't need you to move. I just asked you if you would move it. Thank you. Sorry.
Not too proud to let somebody use.
Yeah, that's good. I'd like to thank everybody that showed up for the police ceremony. It was real nice to have a full house here for that. Okay, we are going to move on to item 4A, is a public hearing regarding the proposed St. Charles Road Commercial Corridor TIF District. This is a public hearing that's scheduled for this evening. The public hearing concerns the proposed St. Charles Road Commercial Corridor Tax Increment Financing District. I hereby convene the public hearing to consider the approval of a redevelopment plan and project known as the St. Charles Road Commercial Corridor Redevelopment Project Area, and the confirmation of the boundaries and tax increment allocation financing for the St. Charles Road Commercial Corridor TIF District. Clerk Kornecki, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Alfano? Here. Trustee Cordova?
Here.
Trustee Corkery?
Here.
Trustee Kosar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar? Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Kazone?
Here. So tonight, we will take public comment from all interested persons or affected taxing districts concerning the approval of the redevelopment plan and project, and confirmation of the boundaries and of the tax increment financing for the TIF district. The village board will take no action tonight concerning this matter. At this time, we will have a short presentation from the village's consultant concerning the statutory notices and the conformance with the TIF Act. The Joint Review Board recommendation and an overview of the proposed TIF district. Okay, start our presentation. Clerk Kornecki, have you received any written comments regarding the proposed TIF district?
No, I have not.
Afterwards? Okay, all right, sorry. Okay,
Okay, we're ready?
you're all on.
Great. Can everybody hear me? All right, thanks for coming out, everybody. That was fun, huh? I'm going to choose not to be offended that the room cleared out when I walked up here, so we're just going to take it from here. My name's Pete Iosi. I am an associate principal with Tesca Associates. We're the village's TIF consultant. I've been working with Mark and staff and the village for well over a year now to put this plan together. And we're at the end of the road now. This is the official public hearing. As the village president said, we're here to take comments and any questions that the public might have. We have previously held a public meeting for the residents, anyone who happened to live within the TIF district. So if any of you happen to come to that meeting, this is pretty much the same thing. There has been no changes. Nothing is different from the plan as it was presented at that meeting. I'm just going to take a few minutes. I'm going to run through kind of a what is TIF to just in case anyone doesn't understand what we're talking about, a little bit about the area that we're talking about, and then we can take any questions that the board or the public might have. So here's the area that we're talking about. This is the project area boundary map. Hopefully everybody can see the screen there. It's essentially the St. Charles Road corridor. It encompasses.
I'm sorry, just try to get the lights down so you can see the sorry to disturb you. Oh,
No problem.
there you go.
So it's essentially the properties that front on St. Charles Road for the duration of the village. So from the east to the west, village boundaries, all the properties along St. Charles Road, and then some of the industrial properties on the street right here that we're on, including this building and the industrial properties going to the west. So this is the area that we are talking about. So why is the village contemplating utilizing TIF? So this is essentially what I like to call the municipal challenge. You know, the municipality has underperforming assets. what can the village do? There's a public desire to encourage and promote economic development and redevelopment within the village. So tax increment financing is a tool that the village can use to help promote economic development along the corridor. There are very few economic development tools that are available in the state of Illinois. There's essentially TIF and enterprise zones, and that's really it. So the village has very few tools available, TIF being one of them. So I'm going to just kind of go over kind of what is TIF. So the concept of TIF in Illinois, it's based on property values. So the concept involves, incentivizing development incentives that increase property values, obviously increase the associated property taxes. Those increased property tax revenues can be recaptured by the village then to promote more development within the area. A couple of things to keep in mind for anyone who happens to own property within the proposed TIF district. The TIF is not a tax increase. It's not going to affect the tax rate of properties in the area. It's not a tax abatement. It doesn't affect the assessed values of the property. So it really primarily affects the taxing districts and not the property owners, and I'll explain that in a second. So as I said, TIF it's just an economic development tool. It's a technique that municipalities can use to help stimulate new private investment. Again, in Illinois, it's based on property values. And again, I just like to, this is one of the common misconceptions that it's a new tax on on properties within the area. It is not a new tax. It doesn't increase people's tax rates. It doesn't increase people's assessment values. The goals of the TIF district are essentially four main goals of the TIF. Eradicating blighting conditions within the area, so improving the actual physical conditions of properties within the designated area. Encouraging private investment and encouraging and stimulating property owners to invest in their properties. Improving public utilities, storm sewers, water mains, those types of things. And enhancing the quality of the business environment within the village. So TIF is not new and it's not unique to Illinois. It was first created in the 1950s. It's used in virtually every state in the United States. Illinois, this slide's actually a couple of years old. At this time, there's 440 TIFs in Illinois. There's quite a few more than that now. To give you an idea, that red circle there is Villa Park. That's essentially the area that we're looking at. All of those blue areas are other TIF districts within the surrounding communities to Villa Park. So it's a pretty common tool. Municipalities all throughout the state have used it to help spur economic development in their communities. So how does a TIF actually generate revenue? This is kind of a little complicated chart. The next slide, I'll kind of simplify it. But essentially what the TIF does is, if the TIF is adopted, the value of properties within the TIF district at the time the TIF is created is what we call the base value. That is what all the taxing districts will continue to levy their taxes on throughout the course of the TIF. If a property owner invests in their property to increase the value of their property, any increased taxes from that base at the start of the TIF, that's what goes into the TIF district, into the TIF fund that the village can then use for designated redevelopment projects. So I'll give you a quick example. So here, for example, if there's a property that's worth $1 million at the time that the TIF is created, that $1 million would be the base value. These aren't exact numbers. I just used a rough 10% just for example purposes. But say for a 10% property tax on $1 million would be $100,000. That would be the amount that the taxing districts would continue to get their levy on that $100,000. If the property owner then invests in their property and increases that value to $1.5 million, the property taxes would go up to $150,000. So just that $50,000 increase is what goes into the TIF. If you don't invest in your property and the value doesn't go up, no money goes into the TIF, nobody's affected. It really functions on, we're trying to encourage people to invest in their properties to increase those values. So the TIF cycle, this is generally how a TIF is intended to function. You want to encourage private investment. That private investment increases the property values. Those property values increase the taxes. That increase in taxes goes into the TIF fund. That can be used to stimulate more investment in the area. That's kind of the cycle that we're looking for. So the TIF Act is what governs TIF in the state of Illinois. It's very specific as far as how to establish a TIF and what the village can do with any increment that is generated. The minimum plan requirements include, just a couple of them, the project area boundary, which I just showed you, the goals and objectives of the TIF district, a proposed budget and timeline. The TIF has to be compliant with the village's comprehensive plan. There has to be a process to amend the plan, any impact on the taxing districts, and I'll get to that in a minute. And there was a detailed eligibility analysis and housing impact study that are included in the TIF plan as well. And then this last one, the statement on the but-for test. The but-for test is essentially the legal threshold in the state of Illinois to establish a TIF. Meaning, but for the establishment of this redevelopment plan, new development in the area is unlikely to occur. So that's kind of the legal threshold that we're looking for to establish a TIF district. All of the required elements from the TIF Act are in the proposed plan. As far as eligibility goes, as I said, the TIF Act is very specific on qualification. So I personally walked the entire corridor, took pictures, documented everything. Within the TIF plan, there is Mark, was this available on the village's website? So this was available on the village website if anyone wants to look at it. There's a very detailed eligibility analysis at the end where I walk through all the criteria to show eligibility. It's got maps and tons of photos. Essentially, there's 13 criteria. You want to hit 5 of them to be what they call a blighted area. I don't really like to use the word blighted area because it puts ideas in people's heads. But it's the technical definition of a blighted area is if you meet 5 of these criteria. If the majority of properties are 35 years old or older, then you have to meet 3 of the eligibility criteria. So that's the threshold to establish a TIF district.
Say that again.
There's 13 eligibility criteria. If you need to hit 5 of them to be eligible as a TIF district, or if the buildings are old enough, you need to hit 3. And
What's the age?
35 years. So the majority of buildings are 35 years and older, and that's documented in the plan. And the area qualified under 4 of the criteria. There were also 3 other criteria that were present, but not evenly distributed throughout the entirety of the district. So I documented it, but they weren't technically qualifying factors. But the major qualifying factors are deterioration. This is where we're talking about the actual physical condition of buildings. We're talking about, cracks in the masonry, roof issues, window issues, not structural things where the building has to come down, but just structural issues with the building. Structures below code standards, we documented code violations within the project area. Deleterious land use or layout, this is essentially incompatible land use relationships where you have, say, an industrial building next to a residential building or a commercial, like a drive-through next to a residential, things that just aren't compatible with each other. And then decline in EAV, which is essentially, I've looked at the trend in property values over the last 5 years to show that they have been declining. And as I said, there were some other factors that were present, but not to a major extent, and that's obsolescence. Those are buildings that are
not necessarily suitable for their original use. Excessive vacancies, there were vacancies in the corridor, not throughout the entire corridor, and lack of community planning. So as I said, the majority of buildings are 25 years or older, and they meet 4 criteria, so the area is eligible. Again, the TIF Act is also very specific on should the TIF district generate any revenues off of increased property taxes, what the village can actually use that money for. And essentially, it can be used for public infrastructure improvements, environmental cleanup, facade improvements, improving the physical condition of the buildings, property assembly, acquiring property, demolishing dilapidated structures. The thing to keep in mind is the TIF cannot be used to directly fund new construction. So the village can't take that money and then just give it to someone to build a new building. It's to improve the conditions of the existing buildings or to acquire properties, to create sites that are large enough for development or to demo dilapidated buildings, but it can't be used for new construction, essentially. What the TIF is intended to do is to overcome excessive redevelopment costs to encourage development. So,
what's the purpose of this picture? I mean, specifically, what's wrong with this building? What is this being shown for?
I was just pulling out pictures of the corridor. It's not necessarily intended to.
So it's just a picture.
It's just a picture of a building in the corridor. Is that, yeah, if that's your building, I'm not trying to imply that there's any issue with your particular building.
Yeah. There will be time for public comment later, so if you can hold your questions until we're all done, so we can get through this, please.
I'm almost finished.
Okay.
Another important part of the plan is this is where we identified redevelopment opportunity sites. This is how we generate the budget to estimate how much increment that the TIF could potentially generate. The thing I want to emphasize here is we identified sites where we thought redevelopment could occur. I don't want to imply that any of these sites, anything is required to happen. The village isn't saying they're coming to take any of these particular properties. The village is not saying that they're expecting anything to happen on these properties. This was just an exercise where we evaluated the corridor and tried to identify areas that were underdeveloped or where there was no development, where new development could potentially occur. So I don't want to give anyone the impression that the village is coming to take their property, because that's certainly not the case. But this is how we generate the budget to determine, what could happen over the life of the TIF if new development happened, and that's how we estimate the budget for the TIF. A couple of just general TIF facts. The general lifetime of a TIF is 23 years. The TIF can be closed out at any time, but the maximum is 23 years. And again, the TIF plan is consistent with the Villa Park Comprehensive Plan. We have held a joint review board, which is a meeting with all of the affected taxing districts. As I said earlier, the TIF doesn't really affect the property owners, but it does affect the taxing districts. It affects, once the property owner pays their taxes, it affects where those property taxes go. So we did have a meeting, what we call the joint review board, with all the affected taxing districts, the school district, the park district, library district, all of the districts. And we actually had individual meetings with a number of the taxing districts as well. And they all unanimously supported approval of the TIF. And then, as I said, we had the public meeting for the residents, and now we are at the final step. This is the public hearing. As was said earlier, we're not expecting any action from the board tonight. This is just basically to present to the public and to answer any questions or concerns that anyone might have. I think that's what I got.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to go back to this map in case anyone has any questions.
Okay, now last question. Clerk Hranecki, have you received any written comments regarding the proposed TIF district?
No, I have not.
Okay, seeing none, take it to the trustees. Any questions or comments that the trustees have about the TIF? Trustee Patrick.
I have a comment. Ultimately, I'm always in favor of TIF districts because of the potential of economic development, just attracting private investments, improving infrastructure, increasing property values. However, there's always the risk of mismanagement. And I think that's very important that we need to discuss how this TIF district and our current existing TIF districts are managed. Previously, in the Village of Villa Park, we've had some TIF districts that are underperforming, some that have performed very well. And I think we haven't had a lot of discussion as a village in the past, at least in the past 5 years that I've been on this board, about specifically performance of TIF districts and how we look to achieve certain goals with establishing, especially a new TIF district, and what that looks like. I am just very cautious about moving forward due to the fact of potential mismanagement. So there are some things that I would like to see in place or even discussed further. For example, I think it would be important, and I hope the board could consider this, but potentially the creation of a new advisory commission, specifically designed about TIF districts here in Villa Park, or specifically change village code enabling our Planning and Zoning Commission to actually have these discussions and discuss TIFs in general. I think that gives us another set of eyes on there, the ability to have those commissions, or that new commission or an existing commission, advise the board more so than what we've had, at least from the past 5 years. So that's one thing that I would like to see happen.
Can I address a couple quick things? Just as far as management of the TIF, just for the public's information, TIFs are very transparent. They are required to, if a TIF is adopted, they are required to hold, I mentioned we had a joint review board with the taxing districts before we got to this point. If a TIF is established, they're required to have that meeting with the taxing districts every year, and they're required to file an annual report on all the money that was generated and exactly how that money was spent. And those are filed with the state, and those are available on the state comptroller's website for every TIF in the state. You can go and look at those. And then you were mentioning a commission. There is a provision in the TIF Act where you are, it does set up a procedure where a municipality can establish a commission, essentially, to, so it's not super common, but some communities do that.
One question that I do have for you, though, is that it's, in your presentation, you said that there are minimum plan requirements, and one of those is to conform with the comprehensive plan. Which comprehensive plan are you basing this off of? Because we haven't gotten the results off of the comprehensive plan, the most recent one, yet.
Yeah.
So how does that fit into the minimum plan requirements if we don't have a comprehensive plan yet?
I reviewed your current comprehensive plan that's in place now, because that's what's in place at the time that you're considering this TIF. But I also have been in conversations with staff on your new comprehensive plan, just to make sure that there was, particularly on the future land use map, to make sure that nothing we were proposing was going to conflict with anything that you're contemplating in your new comprehensive plan.
And does the village have any specific plans or ideas that they would like to bring forward as a part of what this TIF is going to do? I know you, generally speaking, you can say this is what you can or cannot do with a TIF, but does the Village of Villa Park have any specific plans or ideas of what they would want to do with this new TIF district?
I have been in conversations with staff. I don't know, Mark, if you want to handle that, but I'm not aware of anything specific, but I have been in conversations with staff about potential new developments so that I would incorporate those in my projections. But I don't have any inside information on any specific projects that are coming down the line.
When are we going to give the
Excuse me, sir, there'll be time for questions. We will have staff comments, though. If you want to answer it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening. The point of the TIF creation is to spur redevelopment along the St. Charles corridor. Beyond that, there's no specifics on a specific site. What did we want to do? The TIF is just a funding mechanism to incentivize. It's not the document that says, we would like a retail store there, we would like a 5-story business here, or whatever. That's not this document.
Okay.
This is a financial hold on.
Sir.
This is a financial
Time for questions
mechanism.
later.
As that previous slide where new improvements go, we have a dollar amount that we can go and spend TIF eligible expenses on.
So then I would definitely recommend taking the board take advantage of the opportunity that you said was listed that allows us to establish a committee for TIF districts, so that way we can have constant conversation, and then also the ability to ask questions about that.
Yeah, so we will actually have a sub-area plan for the St. Charles corridor built into the new comprehensive plan. That was that tact in the new comprehensive plan, to call out specifics. What do we want to see more broad, more honed in on the corridor?
So then one of my other questions then would be, what are our measurables? How are we going to make sure that this new TIF district is actually performing well? And how are we going to stay on top of that? And that's one of the reasons why I'm recommending that we have a TIF commission established, not just for this TIF, but all of the rest. So that way we could have, as a board, regular input from the advisory commission that lets us know what we can or cannot do. Maybe there's new ideas. A TIF district, you said, is usually 23 years long.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time, especially in a town that's potentially economic development boom that we are hoping that we can have. But in that 23 years of time, things change. So that's why I think it's more important that we have this advisory commission in place, so that way future boards also are well aware of how the TIF districts are being managed.
So just to reiterate, anticipated future development is property owner driven. So the commission would be based on financials. It's not a land use decision-making group. It's not an encouragement this.
So financials are also discussed about how you want to use that money, whether it's to improve facades, whether it's improve sidewalks, streets, and that's something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
That's all board action.
I understand that, but the board also, needs people to advise us as to this. And I'm not saying that you're not advising us, but what I'm saying is that if you want to have a pulse on the community, we should have our residents be a part of this TIF district commission over those years, so that way they could tell us, is spending our money on a facade improvement really the best means at this time for this TIF district, or could we be doing something else?
That's something that we can take up at a later time.
Yeah, if the TIF district is established, then you have a redevelopment plan and project area. But the actual development, it would be dictated later by redevelopment agreements with specific developers. And at that time, you'd be able to make those decisions with respect to what incentives that redeveloper or that developer would get with respect to, new development within that TIF area.
And this is just for my reference, I don't know, have any other commissions been involved in the process of discussing this new TIF, for example, planning and zoning?
No, because plan and zoning is not the appropriate group for them. The Economic Development Commission is, and they're also the group that is supposed to review redevelopment agreements and sales tax rebates. We have them on staff, or they're already formed and ready to go. They're not the TIF commission under statute, but they're the ones that sat through the presentation and gave comment.
Does the statute allow us to have, is it a commission for each specific TIF, or could it be all TIFs under our responsibility in our municipality, I mean?
Yeah, typically it's a commission for that TIF.
specifically for one TIF.
Right, and if you already have an Economic Development Commission, I would suggest that's probably the best place for it. If you establish a TIF commission through the procedures of the TIF Act, that basically takes all the power of reviewing those redevelopment agreements away from the board and gives it to that commission specifically. That's how that commission works through the TIF Act.
Okay.
So it would basically be taking all that authority from the board on the TIF fund and giving it to that commission. If you already have an Economic Development Commission that reviews stuff, I would use that to just advise you.
Okay.
That would be my
Great.
recommendation. And then as far as reviewing TIFs as they're ongoing, I can talk to you guys about some tools and exercises that I use for my other TIF clients for existing TIFs where I'll go through and, we'll map out the entire TIF, which properties are above the base and actually generating increment, which ones are below, and we can do some calculations and analysis to show you how that TIF is performing. We did a lot of that after, 2010, after the market crashed. A lot of people set up TIFs and the base was set, and then everything dropped below. So we had to do a lot of reviewing TIF districts and seeing what we could do. So I have some things that might help.
I think that's a great idea. That would be beneficial. Then regardless of who's overseeing it, if that's the Economic Development Commission, then I, as a board member, would like to see it as we move forward, regular updates specifically from them on our TIF districts, not just the one, but multiple TIF districts as well.
The update would come from me.
I would like the update to come from our commission. I would
Again,
like to have an advisory
previous-
commission tell us
again,
about that.
They don't have access to that data. I would be creating all the data, presenting it to them, and then I would just present it to you guys.
The commission would be involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically. Okay, anything else?
As the TIF administrator, that is my responsibility. That's my
Trustee
function. That's my role.
Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I know that there was a joint review board meeting that was in November, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us who was in attendance? And are there any, I am not a person who can come to a meeting at 2:00 in the afternoon, which I think is when it was held. And I would like to be able to reference that as a board member who's making decisions. Are there any notes, any minutes, any videos that I can go back to reference as we are making these decisions?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's written minutes.
Okay, I would like to have those.
Sure. They'll be attached for the ordinance provisions. They'll be
Okay.
in there.
Those are required for the annual TIF reports to have the minutes of all the joint review boards, so you should be able to.
Are they available on the website now?
They're
Is
not.
there a reason why they're not?
They're not approved.
Okay, approved by who?
The joint review board meets annually.
Okay.
So in November of next year, they will approve their minutes from the year before. The joint
Okay.
review board
Okay.
operates like that under state statute requirements.
Okay.
That's how it is.
Got it.
But the draft minutes can be available for.
Yeah,
Got
they just
it. Okay.
can't be posted online.
Okay,
'cause
that
they're
was my
draft.
question.
Yep.
And then you had also said, Mark, that the new comprehensive plan is going to give us more detailed information on what the village's vision is. Did I misunderstand what you were saying?
No, the sub-area plans.
Okay.
That's what you're referring to.
Then can I ask, because I do have some concern about this TIF coming before our new comprehensive plan, and we are spending a lot of money on this new comprehensive plan. Is there a reason why we're pushing this before the new comprehensive plan is presented to us?
We're actually late on the approval of the TIF.
Okay, but that's not my question. My question is, why are we?
I'm not pushing it. I'm trying to keep up with the original timeline of approving the TIF district.
So is there a reason why we have to stick to the timeline, or is there a reason why this is not fluid?
What?
The timeline being fluid, I mean.
Yeah. The approval process of a TIF district is approximately 15 months from when you start creating the document to meet all the statutory requirements for notification for all these people, the JRB and all that stuff.
Sure.
If you don't pass it because you'd like to wait for the comprehensive plan, we'll have the TIF 7 created in 2028. So stagnant growth on the St. Charles corridor until that time.
And then would we have to start the
All
process
over.
all over again?
100% all over again. Update all the data within the plan because it will be out of date at that time.
And one other thing you want to keep in mind is you always want to start a TIF at the beginning of the year. because you're getting off the property taxes.
Sure.
So you don't want to start it in October, and then you'll use a year of your 23 years, and you won't generate anything.
Which was the case for this one, where we paused, revamped, and have it January 8th public hearing.
Right. All right, thank you. Those are all my questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Trustee Kozar.
All right, I've got some questions that some of the property owners have reached out to me with, and I've got some questions of my own. This would be the 6th TIF district, right, in Villa Park?
Seventh.
Seven.
It will be TIF number 7, but 2 have expired.
So we got 7, and even before I go in this, I'm on the fence, like 50-50, whether or not I think the TIF district makes sense. But we're going into TIF number 7, which means we've, by our own admission, said that we've got 7 areas in Villa Park that are blighted. Like, that just screams mismanagement over the years of our village, that there would be 7 blighted areas in our little town of 20,000 people. It's crazy to me. So hopefully we're on the right track and we're making some progress so that in 23 years we can look back at Villa Park and say we have 0 blighted areas in Villa Park.
Right.
We should have no blighted areas in Villa Park, considering all our resources, where we're located and everything else. Are there public buildings in the TIF district?
Yeah.
So public buildings would then qualify for TIF money, right?
Yes, with certain parameters and restrictions on that, yeah.
But public buildings don't contribute to TIF money, right?
TIF is very,
Well, public buildings don't pay taxes.
no.
So if you don't pay taxes, you don't contribute to TIF.
Correct.
But yet you can take TIF money.
And only in very limited circumstances. The TIF is very specific about TIF increment being used to fund public buildings. So you can't use the money to build a new village hall.
Right.
There's certain, limited things that you could do.
But you couldn't use TIF money to build a new private building either, right? You can't. So, right, so we knew that you couldn't build Village Hall with it. But why bother having public buildings in a commercial TIF district if it's supposed to improve economic development? Like, shouldn't that money at least go back to the people who own the businesses and the buildings in that town?
Well, nothing's saying you have to use any of the TIF increment on the public building.
But
One of the things to.
What would be the point of having those in there if you're not going to use
Everything has
it?
to be contiguous, so everything has to touch, so you can't,
Okay.
take this block and skip this block and go to this block. And we wanted to get that whole, all those industrial buildings going further down the street. So it's primarily a function of contiguity.
So it's a function of continuity. So whatever public buildings we have in there are basically just puzzle pieces to connect the dots so that we can move along.
Primarily.
Yeah, there's no reason, because
Yes
it's just
or
a
no?
village building, to gap tooth it. There's no reason to exclude it. If you don't want to spend money on it, you guys vote to spend money on it. Just don't.
Right, but we may not be here for 23 years. So we're making
Village, yeah.
decisions for 23 years out, so we have to look at those. And I don't like the idea of taking money out of the pockets of the property owners that are contributing to this.
Most of the TIF eligible expenses are classified as public utilities. So that's part road improvements, underground utilities, that kind of stuff as well, just to clarify. Not just buildings.
So if given your example, $100,000 goes into the TIF, $1 million property, 100,000 moves up to 150,000, so 50,000 goes into the TIF bucket of money. Where would that tax money go if not to the TIF?
To the taxing districts according to their percentages.
But and one of the premises that you have to prove is that, but for the TIF district, you would not likely get that increase. So if you see a district where there has been not a lot of new investment for a number of years, one of the greatest examples of a use of a TIF in the state is the Ovaltine factory. And I think I think we all know that was a successful TIF, and our first one was Target. So if the assumption is, and I think there's pretty good proof, especially with the case of Ovaltine, that sat vacant for a while. One of the things that helped get it to move forward was the TIF district. The other, of course, is private industry willing to take that risk with the assistance from the TIF district. So I just want to make sure that when we're talking about what would happen to that money, the assumption is that money may not have that additional increment would not have been generated, but for a plan and for a chance, whatever it is, the use of the TIF district, improving public infrastructure, selling bonds, that sort of thing.
So I'm glad you mentioned Ovaltine, because it brings me to the development where the old AK Mulch was, which is the Union. I mean, that's what they're calling themselves.
Right.
And my understanding is that one of the motivating factors behind putting this TIF together is so that the Union can get back some of their increased tax money and use that for redevelopment, similar to what Ovaltine did, right?
They have, from their initial request, they've asked it for TIF assistance, correct?
Okay, so if the TIF doesn't go through, most likely the Union won't go through. Is that a fair statement?
Most likely, without looking at the financials, that is a true statement. Which they have not submitted a formal pro forma, because that would be premature of creating the TIF.
So, I understand, as it relates to TIF, I think it does make sense, the Ovaltine idea, the Union idea, where you're taking nothing and making something out of it. And then all you're asking for essentially is that the money that you're putting in through increased taxes just comes back to you for a limited period of time to help you develop it, to satisfy that but-for test that you referred to, but for the development of Ovaltine, or but for the development of the Union or something else, that wouldn't be there. But for a lot of these properties, am I wrong in my understanding that even though generally speaking property values continue to go up year after year, that baseline doesn't creep up also, given like a 4% inflationary property value, something like that?
Correct.
It's just flat at $1 million. So next year, that $1 million property, if you did nothing to it but kept it clean and kept the roof from leaking, is probably going to be worth $1,050,000. I don't know.
There'll be natural.
Right.
That is correct.
So, it doesn't, okay. So as property taxes go up, it's just flat, all that money goes into the pool. And with the exception of large development projects, we're keeping that money out of the general tax funds. This is still where I'm not very clear. If that money doesn't go into the TIF, it goes into our general fund through property taxes? I mean,
not ours.
It goes into the county.
Nope. Well,
Goes into the state.
that's one of them.
Okay.
The tax bill. If you go down the line,
Right.
every one of those entities would have gotten that natural increase in increment.
Okay.
Instead of the TIF.
Right.
Yep.
So that money doesn't go into those little buckets on our tax bill, because that money's going into the TIF bucket.
Correct.
Right?
That's correct. Yep.
But doesn't all those other buckets have to find money somewhere else?
Yeah,
Because
that's why we have the JRB,
so,
the Joint Review Board meeting.
Yeah, that's why we
Right.
presented it, we had individual presentations to the school districts,
Right.
to the library board, and they all supported the TIF.
so, I mean, I'm just, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. We've all heard that expression.
Sure.
You say it doesn't raise our people's taxes. But in effect, I think it does, because if we're putting that section taxes into a different bucket, all those other buckets have to find revenue somewhere else and raise taxes. Because they're not going to take a tax break. They're not going to say, well, that money's going into Villa Park and, yeah, we'll be all right this year. We don't need to do it. Over 20, 30 years, they're going to be raising their taxes too. So everybody's raising a little bit more.
I cannot speak on what another taxing district is going to do.
Seems logical, though, and you don't even have to answer that.
I don't know.
it does. I see a lot of
I don't
nodding
know.
heads here, so
We had-
I'm not like.
We
way
had
out.
quite the debate ourselves, so I do not know how another taxing district would do it.
Okay.
But they would, another taxing district would raise the tax either way. You know, I mean,
I'm
if,
not
you know-
going to speak on behalf of another
Mark would
taxing
not know.
district.
Yeah,
I think there have been agreements where a portion of it has been given back to the.
They're correct. The school district and the library district have state statute rules where they can request an increase based on new population. On schools, obviously, it's school children. Library, it's library card holders. So they have an opportunity to collect money off of the increment outside of the tax bill.
Okay. And then to be clear, and this was a question that I've received from a couple people, there's been a rumor out there that one of the reasons for the TIF district is because they want to put like a boulevard street down St. Charles Road with parking on the side, and they want to potentially through eminent domain take certain land away.
Yep.
Just to be clear in this meeting for everybody to hear, that's not the intention. There's no plan of something like that happening.
Yes,
We're
that
not
is the,
making
that is the
St. Charles
number
a
one
boulevard
question
street.
I've gotten through this entire process.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there is no preliminary engineering. There's not even a plat of survey. They tell me where the buildings are in relation to the right-of-way. The TIF, as I've answered, can create a funding mechanism to hire an engineer to figure out what we have and what we should go to with traffic studies and full-on engineering and potentially even construction. But until projects come online and start funneling significant dollars into the TIF fund, that's never going to happen because it's a $8 million road improvement, right? So.
Right. But it's something that's been out there and
Oh, yeah.
misinformation, so I just
That-
wanted to clear
Yep,
that up.
many residents have pointed out that that was part of the current comprehensive plan that we're on. When that was created, that was a talking point 15 years ago.
Yeah. And that could be part of the talking point on the current one.
It absolutely could be, yeah.
But, and just to be clear, that is in the 2008 comprehensive plan, there was, one of the suggestions was to narrow St. Charles Boulevard, not take land that is in the private sector. So it wasn't to expand it wider and take, and to purchase land. It was a possibility that you could make a nicer pedestrian corridor, you know, something easier to cross the street in certain places and that sort of thing. It wasn't to get property that, it would be using public property in a different way. And that was in the 2008 comprehensive plan.
Yeah, to be clear, the TIF is not proposing to do anything specific.
Yeah.
It's, like Mark said, it's a funding mechanism. It sets out the area, it lays out that it qualifies. This is the funding mechanism, and then you will review projects as developers or property owners come to you. And that's why it has to be consistent with your comprehensive plan. So we're not proposing.
And I
anything
agree with that explanation. I just wanted to say it out there because I've had to field that question several times.
Yes.
So, it's not going to happen.
Number one question.
So, say this TIF goes through, and all these business owners up and down here, they want to, some way, somehow, improve their property, and they want to utilize this bucket of money that we've set aside for TIF, and this bucket of money keeps growing.
Yep.
How do they do that?
They come to me and we have a meeting, present their idea. We get some construction costs. What is this going to spend? What are the TIF eligible expenses? And then what is the projected increase in value of the improvement? And then what's the new value of the property as a whole? Calculate a estimated tax bill and then figure out what the increment is. And that's the 100% increment that we could give back. And then we do a redevelopment agreement, draft that, send it to the EDC for review, and then ultimately come to you guys for a final vote.
So TIF eligible expenses.
Yeah.
There is a list of what TIF eligible expenses are.
That's correct.
And that's through the TIF law.
That's correct.
So, under the TIF law, there's essentially bullet points that says, these are all the things you can utilize TIF money for. So, in theory, any of those should be able, with the right explanation and a project that makes sense, brought to your office, you know, or in 23 years, hopefully you're retired on a boat somewhere, but whoever stands in your, or sits in your office, and then does that. When I So this is what I want to avoid. When I bought the property that Fuel is at 324 East Central, I went to the manager and I went to the community development director and I said, we've got a property that's an environmental hazard. It's got tanks under it. It's on the list of TIF stuff.
Yep.
I would like the city to help me with that. They said, no, we're not interested. When I said, we're going to need to dig up the street and bring new plumbing in and separate the sewer, and it's on the list under the TIF thing, I'd like the village to help me with that. They said, nah, we're not interested. I went through the list and added a couple other things, and they said, you know, the only thing that we're going to do is we'll give you some money if you want to improve the facade. A garden hose could improve the facade at that point. But essentially, they said no on all of that. And then I come to learn that this property got this money and that property got that money, and I ended up just out of pocket doing it all myself. I want to make sure that nobody else in that TIF district doesn't get the same benefit that everybody else or somebody else does.
Yeah.
It's got to be equal. So how do we do that? We've got a bucket of money. If all these things are on the list,
It's not going to be equal, because it's always site-specific to what they're doing. So it isn't equal. It's what that base is frozen at, and then what improvement they're going to be doing. Someone could just go, I'm just going to do my facade improvement. Very little increase. We already have a program for that in Ardmore, which isn't a TIF technically, and then Villa, which is a TIF. Already have a program. Very small things. I'm going to demo this whole thing, put 5 stories and first floor retail. Massive increase, right? Not equal. So be cautious on that.
Can I take it? So what I'm hearing you ask is that make sure that there's a process so that it isn't just the people that we know of who have expressed interest in developing property up to this point, but that we try and make it open enough that if somebody else has a new idea, we don't allocate all the possible funds, or we don't shut the door on other potential development projects that we don't know about yet. Is that kind of where you're getting at? So that we don't, I mean, we know, as you mentioned, it's on our website, we're looking at the possibility of the possibility of developing the property that used to have AK mulch with the union. That's not a secret, but there's a lot of other possible projects that could go up and down St. Charles Avenue, and some of that money, if we hadn't generated enough increment, could possibly help with some public projects like improving stormwater with doing a project in the Rotary Park, which is why we've added that. But what I hear you saying is that make sure it's a process where, you know, we're considering the value of the project, and that there's a process open enough that we don't just select a few headliner projects and then not listen to other people who have other projects. Something like that.
yeah, something like that. I mean, if everybody's going to be in this TIF district and everybody's contributing in some way, I want everybody to have the opportunity to benefit from it.
Absolutely.
And not just select based on one person's, one manager's idea or one community development director's idea. There's got to be some uniformity to it. There's got to be some fairness to it.
I can show you guys some examples of some really good applications.
Yep.
That set out, you know, it has to meet, you know, you lay out the goals that the village is trying to accomplish, and I can help you formulate a nice application that'll accomplish your goals.
That's great.
And the other thing you want to keep in mind is, it's, like Mark said, it essentially comes down to a math problem. You have to show that you're investing in eligible expenses that can be reimbursed, and that your project is then going to generate enough increment to cover those expenses. If you're not going to generate enough increment to cover those expenses, you physically can't.
There's no deal.
And if there's no money in the TIF, you can't give it to anybody. So another thing to keep in mind is, you know, once you establish the TIF, it's going to take probably a couple of years before any significant increment is in there that you could even potentially.
Sure. But that concept is good, because the formula would be fair for everybody. It's the same formula.
Yeah.
Plug in the numbers, plug in the ideas.
Yep.
See what comes out at the end.
Yeah, that part is the fair part, yes.
And not only that, though, it's not like, okay, there's $10 million in the TIF and the guy wants to do this amount, we'll give them $1 million. It's all based on the RDA.
Correct.
And the RDA may say 80% of the increment or 60%.
Absolutely.
And that's all part of the redevelopment agreement.
That's correct. And so.
Through cooperation, with the private owner,
Exactly,
you're going to
because-
say, he's going to want 100%, and we're going to say, no, 50%, and we're going to end up.
Right. No, and it's, do they need 100%?
Right.
It's not free money.
Yeah.
It's to get over the hump and the financial hurdle, but for that project would not be developed.
Right.
So it's what can we give you plus 1% to cover,
Yeah.
a rounding error to make sure that project happens. 100% is going to be probably pretty rare,
Yeah.
right? But it's there, and
Yeah, you
we'll
could
see.
theoretically, but you don't want to give 100% because you want to have something left over to replace
Sure.
the water main or you do those improvements that affect all the properties.
Right. Correct.
And then one just last small side note is, I feel sorry for Mark at Mowers and More, having his picture up there.
Yeah.
Being the blighted property. We can remove that. I mean, we just don't need
Oh, yeah.
to.
Yeah, I don't think
yeah.
It was not my intention.
it's a very nice
Absolutely.
property.
I brought that up some time ago, and here we see it again, so.
Oh, yeah.
Let's delete that.
No, I actually picked that one because it was a nicer looking.
Do you have a before picture of your property? Right.
Yeah, go to Google Maps.
Okay. It's not on St.
They haven't
Charles,
updated
but
it. I like it.
Yeah.
But I didn't get TIF money, so why would I do that?
That's it, yeah. Right.
Yeah. But although that does go back to the idea that it's not necessarily a blighted property, it could be an underdeveloped property or a.
It's just a property that's in the corridor.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
think of it any more than that.
Yeah.
It's
Because
Pete's
blighted,
artistic interpretation.
yeah, when you
and-
think of blighted, you think of,
Yeah.
no windows and.
That's not
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
want to use blighted,
Right.
it's not blighted as you're thinking blighted, it's the
Right.
technical definition of blight in the TIF.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put a picture of Village Hall.
Here you go.
That's it, okay.
All right.
Trustee, you're
That's
done?
all I have.
Okay,
Thank
trustee
you.
Cordova.
I think something that would be helpful is seeing case studies. What municipalities have done it? Have we done it here successfully as an amateur TIF expert? I don't know. I don't know the answers, right?
They are all over the place, the entire gamut.
I guess seeing
Yeah.
successes and then failures of how and why.
I could give you plenty of examples of successes and disasters.
Right.
That's no problem.
Yeah. All right. I would like to see that just
Yeah,
personally.
we can
Yeah.
go to his portfolio and see what it looks like.
One of the big things where you'll run into the disasters, when TIF was originally created, the concept was that you would do this report, and then the municipality would, we would create that budget, what increment we think the TIF's going to generate over those 23 years. Then the municipality would go out and bond for that money and make all those improvements to spur development. That's when you can get yourself in a whole lot of trouble, because if you invest all that money and then you don't generate that increment, now you're on the hook. Which is now why we always kind of recommend to go on a pay-as-you-go basis, individual redevelopment agreements, let that developer upfront the costs, and then if it doesn't come back on, then it's all in.
Plus, I think a lot of TIFs that were developed 2006, 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that were disasters, because you
They
got
got no
your
start.
baseline, and then 2 years later, that baseline is 30% or 70% of what it was.
5 years, to cancel all those out and rebuild it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you need 130% increment to even get back to it, so yeah,
Yes,
it's,
correct. You Done, trustee Cordova?
Yeah. Thank you.
Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. Director McLaughlin?
Yeah.
How do you evaluate the performance of a TIF district? And moving forward, how do you ensure that we stay on track with positive performance?
so again, it's a financial tool. As long as the public and the property owners are willing, able to redevelop, it's going to be successful. If nobody wants to come forward with any deal, there's $0 in the TIF. It is the community at large to say, yep, there's a funding mechanism, I want to take advantage of that grant, and let's go. And our office is open to cut those deals, let's go.
So at what point does the village promote the TIF to say, the TIF is here?
Already started. Before we went live, because we needed to start drumming up some stuff, because it's only 23 years.
And so if the TIF starts to underperform, what can we do as a village to try to right that?
So we'd have to see what's actually on the books from how many RDAs have we approved, how much more money do we have to lend out, and what's our bucket going to look at year 20? So once we have a couple of things, you got to get at least into year 5 with a couple RDAs before you see what's going on. Because economic development's dominoes. Once you start seeing one, you're going to see another, you're going to see another, and you start getting in a good groove.
And the only way to cancel out of a TIF is by making sure it performs appropriately, right? You could end the TIF early if it's performing?
You can end the TIF early if it's failing, too.
Okay.
But you can end the TIF early if you've met all of your obligations as well.
Okay. So there's always an out for us if,
You can
okay.
end the TIF anytime you want. You just can't extend it beyond those 23 years without approval from Springfield.
Okay.
Which is technically what the ordinance will be in front of you. It'll be a series of ordinances. One to create 7, one to amend 5, because part of 7 is overlapping 5, and one to terminate 4, because part of TIF 7 is covering 4 as well. And so 4 was a failure one. If you look at the years when that started until right now, during that era, so nobody was being active on it. It is what it was, right? So we're going to start fresh.
But there would be really no reason to end the TIF if it's performing well.
Correct.
End it early.
Yeah, if it's still generating and there's properties that still need to be developed, excellent, because now you have money to help offset those costs. Because you could give a lump sum up front to cover those costs, and then only the TIF fund recoups, not the property owner. There's so many different ways to structure that, which is what I would be doing and drafting those things and presenting them to you.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
So you may have already answered this, but I have yielded this question from many residents. We have TIF 4, we have TIF 5. Why all of St. Charles, and why not expand that Kenilworth TIF if it's the union that we're looking at?
TIF,
That falls under TIF 5.
4.
TIF 4.
So
So why not
the-
expand TIF 4? Is it because it's under?
Yes.
Okay.
Starting fresh is the more appropriate approach, because then they get the full life of 23 years, and the village gets the full life of the 23 years of that increment. Without saying too much, the idea on that RDA is that you pay them back what they need over the first 6 to 10 years, and then the remaining out years where you're getting the most increment comes to the TIF to help fund more things. Yes, the
And
money's more valuable at the end.
Yeah.
So
Like Ovaltine was.
get it off the books and then collect and then help incentivizing, because now it's a cash register to the TIF to help fund people that may have a smaller increment, like the facade, but maybe a little bit. Great, I have $100,000 over here that I can allocate that you weren't going to create, but that's on year 13, 14, 20.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yes, you
And
need
then
something to fund it, so.
why of all St. Charles then?
It's the corridor. We wanted to establish the corridor. There wasn't a good cutoff point. It's the corridor. As you're driving through the village, from start to end.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, it's time, village staff, any additional comments?
Just 2 quick ones. I mean, we've talked about, and I know we've already had a lot of talk, and there's some public who want to speak, so I'm going quick. The Ovaltine's a good example of what happens when it works right, when you have a project that languished for a while, but for the TIF, it didn't move forward. At this point, if you look at that increment where we are now, District 88, District 44, the village to a much lesser extent, that's all the other taxing districts are benefiting from the fact that that risk was taken by people 25, 26 years ago, because that's been out. We actually, at the end of it, wrote a check to the school district for 1.2 something for district.
Yeah, the surplus exceeded $2 million in that fund.
Yeah. So that's when things go well. On a smaller scale, one of the things that we use, as you remember, you guys amended the facade program that's administered through the Economic Development Corporation, and we allowed it to be used to help with putting in utilities to a building that needed that upgrade. That building is now Villa Perk. So it wasn't much smaller part of the increment, but one of the reasons why that project was less for the project developer to start was because we put some money into that, and that business is up and running now, and as far as I understand, the couple of times I've been there, they seem to be doing quite well. So there are different levels of TIF success. And then obviously, TIF 4 didn't perform very well. And, I think it's pretty well established right now. TIF 6 is not performing very well. But TIF 2, which is Ovaltine, TIF 1, which is Target, has worked well. TIF 5, Kenilworth has had some success. And we're beginning to see, it took a long time, but the TIF 3, North Avenue, it's a tie, probably. There's some investment that helped make that, but it's not, I wouldn't call that a raging success, but it's now generating enough increment to make it positive.
Yeah, it's in the positive,
Yeah.
and so it's generating income. And so, to Manager Harling's point, the facade program is not based off on future increments. It's just a program. So it could be a $0 increment. It's still, here's $20,000, up to $20,000 for the facade improvement.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I've just been fielding all the same calls you guys have.
The ultimate decision of how well a TIF works is what's it generating at the end? Is it worth that gap to all the other TIF districts? And that's my last comment, I promise.
Okay. Okay, we have a lot of people wishing to comment. If you'd like to come up and please sign in, so we just have your name for the record and try to limit your,
Staff comments? Are there any staff comments?
did we just do that?
Give me additional staff comments.
Anything else?
No.
I just wanted to confirm, it's
sorry.
public comment, or is it expected for question and answer? I want to know what I need to be ready for.
You're about
It's a public hearing.
We'll take public comments and then we'll see.
Okay.
If, how it goes along. Okay. So, we just state your name and the address and then just write it down up there, please. And then, if you're representing a business, just let us know.
Yes, and state their address.
And the address too, please. Go ahead.
I'm just going to object to the address portion of it.
Hi, I just have I gotta fill my name in.
It's in.
Yeah, if you'd like to put your address down, you can, if you would.
It's not necessary if you prefer not to.
Give me my business. 25 West St. Okay, I'm just looking for a clarification. I realize that you get asked the same question, 100 times, and it seemed like today, before a couple of questions were fully asked, you started answering them, so I just want a little bit of clarification, if you don't mind. I understand the mechanism for how a TIF is funded. You improve your property, the tax is now more valuable, so there's a tax raise, and just that difference goes to fund the TIF. What if you don't improve your property? We still get small little yearly tax raises. Where does that money go if you have a TIF? All righty.
Do you want me to answer, or do you want me to
Do you-
just?
Yeah.
I want to know because the TIF could still get funded whether or not you improve your property. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so your yearly tax raises
It'll be small.
that you get, that part
There will be
also,
small natural increases on properties. Some of them will go up a little, some of them will go down a little. It won't really be significant enough for the village to do any projects, but yes, there will be.
okay, so your regular yearly tax raises, when you pass the TIF, that goes to help fund the TIF, whether you improve your property or not.
Correct.
That is correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I'd like to commend you guys. You're very, very smart in saying that there's no comprehensive plan quite yet about narrowing St. Charles Road, which I personally think is a very bad idea. I'm just wondering, is it safe to ask, is that on the back burner, even though it's not a plan now? Is that something you guys are considering doing?
That's going to be part when the comprehensive plan is being developed. That question will be, comments will be made at that point.
So that's a definite, then?
No, it's not. It's part of the plan. If the public, we'll take public comments on that. Once the public comments are open for the comprehensive plan. That's entirely different from the TIF.
That's not quite answered the question, but I'll take
Yeah,
that
but,
for
yeah,
now.
it's-
Okay, thank you.
Come to the comprehensive plan meetings.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Just have we all here filled out the comprehensive plan survey at all? One. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, any other comments on the TIF? It's on the internet, it's on the website. It's
I'll get it
been.
to you guys. Again.
It's been mentioned many times, many times. Could you state your name, please? And
Kathy Leitz, and business owner on Home Avenue. So my question is, we've talked about property taxes, but how about other taxes like sales taxes and, incremental type taxes on unemployment and that kind of thing, taxes?
Nothing to do with the TIF.
So there's not a different rate for us if we're in a TIF district?
No, the TIF
Okay.
runs strictly on property taxes. It doesn't affect your tax rate. It doesn't affect your assessed value. It just affects, once you pay your property tax bill, it just affects where that money goes. So some of it just gets diverted off into the special fund, but it doesn't affect your rate at all.
Other sales taxes and stuff? Okay, thank you.
Theoretically, only it could make your property more valuable to someone wanting to purchase it because it's in the TIF. Other than that, it won't affect it.
Ron Janis, multiple property owner in the TIF district. Where does the initial money come from to start the first TIF?
There is no initial money at the beginning. Like I said, it relies on people investing in their property and increasing the value.
But where do you get the money to invest if you don't have a TIF? You use the TIF to make the improvements, correct?
Right, a property owner.
There needs to be private investment. And so the TIF is there to help offset some of those costs, and that's
Who's the
why
private investors, whoever wants to be?
it's the property owner, it's the property owner, it's a contract purchaser, it's you, it's someone that's
And
angel
explain how-
investing, I don't know.
Can you explain how that works?
Sure. You can go and get a loan at a bank and you need to pay $20,000 a year back, and the TIF will give you 10 of that, so you can cover the other 10 by yourself. That's just one example off the top of my head, because
But the
your
bank
increment.
has to go along with it.
You would come to the village and say, I want to do this, and then they would do their evaluation, and then agree or not to give you some increment.
I did a TIF in Aurora. Bill Wyatt used to be one of the head guys here. And they gave me $50,000, and if I stayed there for 2 years, I didn't pay nothing back.
So that's a grant. Yep.
Is that part of this deal?
So there are many ways to structure a redevelopment deal. That could be one of them. But no one's come forward to propose anything yet because we don't have a TIF yet. But yeah.
So if I wanted to fix my roof and it cost $60,000.
It needs to
and
be
I
a
went
TIF
to the
eligible.
bank,
Yep.
and they gave me $60,000. How much are you going to give me?
I don't know. We got to look at your site, look what's going on. Is it actually a $60,000 roof? We're not going to cut a deal here. We got to figure it out.
Right.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. But Ron, if there was not a TIF, we wouldn't be able to give you anything. Yeah.
Also true.
It depends, but
No.
we wouldn't give you a check. We would say, okay, we'll give you 50,000 over 10 years as the increment increases. We'll say, we'll give you $50,000 if the increment goes up 50,000. If your increment doesn't go up 50,000, we won't give you that,
So it's better to wait until you got money in the TIF.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
Every deal and every site is specific.
You just want to go to the village first
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have the discussion, this is what I plan on doing. Do that before you go out and borrow $60,000.
Yeah, right.
That's the most advice I'm going to give.
Like we've already discussed.
Yeah. Would you, why don't you would you come on up and just give your name up here, please, and sign up?
That is TIF, yes, the train station, Ardmore Avenue is TIF 6. That is correct.
And what's gonna keep St. Charles Road from looking like that?
Proper management.
Okay, you can't do that.
Sir, for the record, we have to have your name, and we're generating a transparent record of of what's going on here, so we need to.
Could you speak your name for the record too, please?
Jeff Ames.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my God.
So?
So
what's the answer?
That goes back to the redevelopment agreement, which Director McLaughlin has been discussing. A TIF is only as good as the RDAs that are written, and as they get written, the TIF does by the redevelopment agreement between the village and then the developer, whoever is getting the money.
All right.
So if the RDA is written well, it'll protect the village and it'll protect us from having something like that.
What year is Ardmore on?
7? 2014? Okay. So
it's 9
the village attorney is saying she thinks it's 2014 it was established. So that's 10 years.
Okay, so 10 years.
Ninth year.
And that's deteriorating worse than it was.
We're working on it.
Again, TIF 6 is not part of the public hearing for TIF 7 today.
Well,
But yes.
I'm using it as reference to what can happen here.
Right.
But
The
again,
reason I brought up.
again, the RDA is the key to it. And if the director is doing his job and if the board is doing their job, we won't have that problem.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just want to add just a couple really quick things. If you look at the corner right now of what's at the old AK Mulch site, we're there right now. And we've got, there's a lot of opportunity to go better. But you're absolutely right. And one of the things that Pete has been talking about is if there's a shift in economic conditions, there's risk in anything. But
How long has AK Mulch been out?
How long has it been out?
Gone, yeah.
A few years, yeah. It was.
Okay. We're kind of getting off subject here though, but, yeah.
And one of the reasons we're trying to establish the TIF is because so far, without a TIF, that hasn't worked. We believe that but for a TIF, that is a very difficult site to get developed. So that's one of the reasons we're suggesting.
I'm just setting myself up for a failure though, is how I.
Well,
aim low and
we'll get
succeed.
this list of successes and failures and give you an idea of why some work and why some don't.
Okay.
Suzanne Reed, St. Charles Road, 125.
What was your name?
Suzanne Reed. So one, just TIF money really isn't spent fairly, if I understand that correctly, right? It really kind of goes to a few projects, but we all throw into the pool? Is that what I kind of,
Necessarily you're only putting money into the pool if you're investing in your property and increasing the value.
well, no, I guess, but part of the taxes are going in there, the extra taxes, so some of our tax money is going into there?
A small amount of natural appreciation, probably.
Okay.
The majority, no. And like we've said, projects are evaluated on if they're actually going to generate increment. They're not going to reimburse you for a project that doesn't generate increment because it's not generating increment that they can reimburse you with. So it can't.
So it's got to increase the value of the property to
Exactly.
get the money.
If you increase the value of your property, that will increase your taxes, that money goes into the TIF, they
Okay.
can reimburse you for your costs. If you're not increasing the value,
This
there's
is
no money.
the next question I run into is, this is a huge TIF. This is a lot of commercial property, a lot. And I'm like, if you really want to get it towards the villa stuff, why would you take in Home Avenue too? I'm just like it's almost third village? A third of it is village?
Village owned?
Village owned on
No.
Home?
Oh, on specifically Home Avenue? Oh, I thought you were referring to the entire
Yeah,
district.
no, on Home, like, it's like,
Uh,
it's a.
I don't, yeah.
Is it just because?
It's a chunk,
This is
yeah.
a big piece of property, and that's a lot of extra money going into the TIF? Okay.
And those businesses will be eligible if they want to, do improvements. Yeah,
Home Avenue,
Right.
or any of the St. Charles.
correct.
Correct.
Generally, I'm drawing the boundary by what qualifies and what will benefit from TIF. So that's how, that's why we cut that hole out in the middle, because there really wasn't any benefit to having that in. For the most part, we want everything contiguous. It has to qualify.
So the white spot in there off the whole end, the empty spot, what is
Yeah.
that again?
That's just not included.
That's it's single-family homes, single-family
all
detached homes.
residential.
So we excluded that because there was no redevelopment plans or opportunities there. So there's no reason to include it.
Okay, anyone else like to make comments?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Andy Essery, AJ's Lawnmower. So I've been there for 27 years, and let's hypothetically say my building, is worth $1 million. And let's say a building few doors down was purchased and redeveloped for 10 million. So my taxes aren't going to be reassessed and go up.
Your taxes would only be reassessed by the,
Assessor.
the township assessor.
Right, but according to you, you said the property values have been going down, but I just got my lovely tax letter that says that they're going up. So which is it, up or down?
Well, I don't know your property in particular, but you can.
Has anybody gotten lower taxes this year?
Mine went up.
Anybody?
Assessment went up.
Anybody?
Yeah.
So which properties are lower value?
So he's,
Yeah, mine was, yeah.
There's a table, I did the analysis, we looked at it, the combined.
Well, on the table, which addresses went down in property value?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but.
So
there's an
it's
analysis.
hypothetical, basically.
There's an analysis in the TIF report. We pulled the EAVs of every pin in that area over the last 10 years, I think.
But we still don't know. You have no specifics. You're just stating in general, hypothetically.
no, he's referring to specific data that is in the plan.
So which one?
He
Is
doesn't-
this planned, it's not with us today?
It's right here. And it's online,
So
and everybody has it.
which one has went down? On the St. Charles
The
corridor?
whole. I'm not
Right.
talking about, I
We're
don't
not-
know.
it's not
There's-
specifics.
There's 100 and something parcels in there. I don't know every value off the top of my head. The entire total value is what I'm talking about.
And how is this going to be different from the one of 10, 12, 15 years ago with the other TIF district that the village has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that never developed? With the flower beds and the one lane in each direction, the brick pavers, that never developed. How is this different than that?
Which,
I don't know what you're referring to.
I've been here a while, so.
Oh, cool. Do you know which one it is?
Are you talking about the one in Kenilworth where we?
No, it was St. Charles Road. We had the meeting at Hyden.
Okay.
$100,000 comprehensive plan that was created, developed, we spent all kind of architectural money, and then it disappeared. 100,000 for the study, for the architectural development.
Yeah.
How is this different?
I don't know which plan.
I think
Nobody
you may
knows.
be talking about the 2008 comprehensive plan. I don't.
The same stuff was brought up, nobody liked it, nothing ever happened. So how is this different?
You're talking
This is-
about a comprehensive plan
Yeah.
versus the TIF.
Yeah.
This is the same, the outline
No,
is the
this
same.
is,
This
there's,
is apples and oranges. So a comprehensive plan is when they look at the village and they say, okay, in 10, 20 years, we're going to do something, this, that, and the other thing. The TIF is not that. The TIF does not come with a plan on how we're going to redevelop. It's private ownership. How do you want to redevelop your business? And that's the question. How do you want to redevelop your business? How much money are you going to spend? Then go sit down with Mark and see how the TIF may be able to assist you in that.
So if I increase my property value by improving it, making it look better, I get penalized by higher taxes.
Well,
Gotta
have the
I
American
have to
way.
pass along to my customers. But I have to pass along to my customers. Do they know that, the people in Villa Park?
But that's not
Yeah.
affected by TIF.
Yeah, that has nothing.
That's
Right,
the
yeah.
American tax.
Right, if you did that without the
Right.
TIF, you would do it.
It doesn't
But if you
matter
sold your,
without the TIF.
yeah, if you sold your property, you would sell it for more.
If you guys think this is a great idea, would you like to buy mine?
I'm not in the lawnmower business.
Anybody? Well, no, you can make it whatever you want when you buy it.
If you are serious, if after a TIF is approved, land acquisition is a TIF eligible expense.
Like the bus company you were talking to me about?
People can propose, "Hey, the village, would you like to acquire this for future redevelopment of something that's going to happen? We'll entertain that and we'll talk about it.
Like
Am I
specifically
buying
with
your
the-
property? No.
With the bus company, like you were talking with me about using the TIF money to purchase that and get them out of there?
As TIF eligible expenses is land acquisition. That's what I was explaining, correct?
Okay, and the retirement community? Where was that intended on going?
I don't have a proposal for a retirement community currently.
We spoke about it, you told me about it.
Wouldn't it be great if?
Wouldn't it be great if? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the funding
So all these
mechanism
are
to help.
Hypothetical, we just want the money, but we have no idea as to actually what we're going to spend them on.
But that's what the comprehensive plan is
Not
going to
even,
be.
you know what? Private development is what is going to make a successful TIF. If nobody wants to sell their property, nobody wants to redevelop it, that is perfectly fine. That's just how it is.
I mean, not to be a jerk here, I'm not,
I'm just answering truthfully and honestly how a TIF works.
I've
I'm not
never-
here to buy anybody's property. I'm not going to go and start making offers tomorrow or whenever the thing's approved.
Well, look me up first if your offer's good, because I'll go. I'll go, I'll give up this great property.
Other properties have been acquired in other TIF districts in this municipality, in other municipalities. Land acquisition is one of the top TIF eligible expenses that gets used all the time. Environmental remediation, demolition, land acquisition usually covers up to 80% of increments based on new projects.
Can I?
Go ahead.
So, what we're trying to do is create a place where private industry and people who are smarter about development than myself or Mark, who know what projects can be put together, can get money to assemble properties, money to make, if there's if you changing the intersection or something like that, adding lighting, something like that. If there are things where the TIF money can be used to make this more possible for development, and that is why we're trying to create this. So if you don't have that interest in redeveloping on St. Charles, but you'd like to take the money and go do something in a different part, hopefully you'll stay in Villa Park. But if that's something you want to do, that's fantastic, because there may be somebody else adjacent to you that's got an idea that needs 3 or 4 properties. So that's one of the ways that TIF can work. But it's not, so we're counting on the private sector to come forward with many of these ideas. A retirement community is something that has been mentioned during the strategic plan, which is separate from the comprehensive plan, not trying to confuse anybody, but during the last strategic plan, retirement community is something that was mentioned. But yeah, no more, you trust me, Mark's a smart guy, I'm not completely stupid, but we would rather you guys come up with these ideas, because that's what you're good at. So
Not
we're
really.
just trying.
I don't think so, because we disagree in a lot. But what's a shame is I've been there for 27 years. I've never been approached by any of you folks on saying, how do we, as a group, come together and make it better for the people in Villa Park? Why don't we do that? Because I'd love to get the holes replaced in my parking lot, stop getting the needles, the used condoms, tampons, beer bottles, underwear, people flying by today with no shirt on down the sidewalk. Customers like, what's that? Oh, just drugs in Villa Park. So realistically, what are we trying to accomplish? I mean, we can't even get the basic necessities of,
Yeah.
Did you go to what?
Go to their comprehensive plan meetings.
Right. Have you completed the comprehensive survey?
I don't know, like, I got my land reassessed or rezoned without me knowing about it, so some of these stuff I don't know.
Yeah, it's been on the website for
The websites.
4 or
yeah.
5 months. It's
We
been-
still have mail, though. I mean, it's not a big corridor, so can we get notified of this stuff and then have it made where we can actually show up because we work.
Well, and Mark's been here for 14 months.
How many
I've been
days
here
in
for
that
about-
14 months has he been here, actually?
I'm sorry.
Working at the village?
Wow.
So he's been
All of them.
working here for 14
Here
months.
every day?
All of them.
For 14 months, really? Okay.
And I've been here for about 18, 19 months, so we're trying to get better at doing some things. I'm not saying the people before me did things, that's not for me to say, but we're trying to get this process to be, we're trying to create, so you're right. A TIF district was created on this street. We're removing TIF 4 and replacing with TIF 7. There was not enough pre-planning, there was not enough stuff thought out, there was different economic conditions. So we're trying to do something to stimulate economic development, which I get comments on a regular basis. Why don't you guys try something? And
I would love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would increase, I would love it, because most of my customers are not from Villa Park.
Mhm.
They come
That's
from
fantastic.
other towns.
And you sell goods and services where sales tax is charged?
Correct, yes.
So if we build the sales tax base during this process, which doesn't go into the TIF, that is more money for everybody who's taking in sales tax. So the county, the village, and others. So even though all we're working on right now is property tax, there's with economic development, we can also generate more sales tax and some other stuff. So if it works.
How does this benefit us or the residents of Villa Park? Specifically us, where everybody's going to raise their hand. How does it benefit us?
Well, I mean, we're talking about things that are public safety issues, right?
Well, we're not in law enforcement. Us as landowners, how does it benefit us since we're paying the taxes?
So what you're talking about are some problems with the people running down the streets and those kind of things. It would help to have additional police officers, more some
Just doing
more
their job would
equipment.
be great, yeah.
Well, last night they
broke into phone store, they broke in me last month, so
Well-
I won't order new product because you can't have good product. I
They-
mean, I'm 0.8 miles from the police station, so maybe I should
One of
move
the-
into the
some of the
apartment.
things that-
cameras on the street and that sort of thing, more equipment can help, and one of the ways that's paid for is with sales tax.
But one of the ways that this affects everybody in a positive way is the more new businesses or the more business that's generated means more traffic in that area, means it'll help all the businesses. The more customers you have coming in, somebody may come to your store and then see the guy next door and say, well, you never realized that business was there. The more traffic that gets generated by having the extra business helps everybody on that corridor.
All right, but respectively, I mean, everybody here doesn't have this one lane in each direction out of the thin air. It's been talked about a bunch. So right now, if during the rush hour from Addison Road going east, it will go past my building, which is approximately a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, with 4 lanes. So if we make it 1 lane, nobody's going to want to sit in that. So you're actually going to move them to Roosevelt Road and to North Avenue, which will decrease traffic flow. How will that help me?
That has
You're
nothing to do
referring
with
to an
the
engineering
TIF.
study that has not been completed.
Yeah.
That's not how that actually works. The same amount of traffic travels on 2 lanes that it does on 4 lanes.
So you want to propose something that you have no plan for. You just want the money, and then you're going to develop the
You
plan?
need a funding mechanism to pay for $100,000 worth of engineering potentially. First, we're going to do a comprehensive plan that says, hey, we're going to do a sub-area on the St. Charles corridor. What is it going to look like? It's going to look like this because it's pretty pictures. And then you have to do an actual engineering and figure out, is it constructible? How much of it's constructible? Should there be additional signalized intersections? Should there be signage? Should there be bike lanes? Should there be a sidewalk? How many trees should we have? Should we have a bike rack? Should we have online? I mean, the list of engineering features can go on and on. Do I have a plan? Absolutely not, because I didn't create that. I'm creating a TIF plan so we can create a funding mechanism to improve the St. Charles corridor.
Okay, so lastly, we'll go back to, I think, one of my first questions, is we did have all these beautiful pictures, the architectural drawings, the vision of the beautiful Beverly Hills Villa Park, and it never came true. So how is this any different?
That was a comprehensive plan, which was not a funding mechanism.
So it failed. So I'm asking, why, what's
You
going to
asked
make this
how
not
it's
fail?
different. That was a comprehensive plan A TIF is a funding mechanism to help pay for TIF-eligible expenses.
But the bottom line, it was a
within that
failure.
I'm not even sure what document you're originally referring
Mark,
to.
this question has been asked and answered. This is what I explained to you, and now you're asking the same question.
Yeah.
A comprehensive plan is a plan. The TIF is a way to make a bucket of money to help all the business owners, all the property owners, if they want to redevelop their property. You're asking the same question over and over and over again.
Doesn't get you
There
an
is-
answer.
I'm giving you the answer. Listen to me. There is no plan to change the street of St. Charles. We've addressed it in this meeting. We've talked about it. There is no plan. It's not being done. That's your answer.
So can we get that in writing?
You
You just said it on the camera.
You have it on
Mark,
video.
Mark, first off, your 3 minutes is way up, but I'm going to give this one last. The reason that the comprehensive plan that was developed in 2008, I believe, is in 2009, there was a major recession. So a lot of those plans, there was no money there to do that. Now, we're in a good economic time. Like Trustee Kozar said, we're in a
We're
good
what?
economic time right now. You know what? I think if you look at the numbers, I think we're in a good economic time right now, especially in Villa Park. There's a lot of things going on in Villa Park.
Who's had a
We-
record-breaking year this year? Anybody?
We're getting off
Yeah,
topic.
yeah, come on.
Let's just
Hey, Mark.
move on to the next
Okay.
one.
If you don't want to listen, however, this TIF plan is being developed almost in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. It's got a lot better chance of working, so. Okay, anybody else like to speak?
Jennifer Perkins. I'm not a business owner. I have a private home, and I'm not sure how many of these properties are private homes. I guess the only thing that we can do is sell out. I mean, if I'm going to put aluminum siding on my house, are you going to help me with that?
No.
Okay.
So,
you want to...
homes are in there to create the contiguous all of St. Charles corridor. We did
Okay.
not want to have a gap tooth approach, right? We are not saying we are coming to buy your home. We are not saying we want someone to buy your home and redevelop it. If you would like to make private investment into your own home with siding, a deck, a garage, please do so. We are not coming to take anything that you have, and that's not what's happening.
Okay,
I've had
but you're
that
not going to
question.
help with that either. The TIF isn't going to benefit me
There
as a
ha-
homeowner. I'm not a business owner.
You could apply to the
You have the
village like
same
any other
rules.
property owner, if whatever improvements you're proposing.
Yeah,
you'll
I'll be
cover.
denied, but, okay.
If you'll generate enough increment to cover those expenses, then you can negotiate.
Okay, now how many private homes
Was
were
it
in
a
this?
handful of-
It's like a dozen or something?
Yeah, I got the
Does that sound
number
right?
in here somewhere.
Are you in the TIF?
Yeah.
She said yes.
Mhm.
But yeah, you have all the same rights as anyone else for TIF eligible expenses.
Okay. Okay. And then, would you be so kind as to give us all the site that we can go to view all the pictures and everything, please? Okay. Thank you.
There's 14 single-family homes. And again, this doesn't affect the zoning, you're still zoned residential, no one's telling you you have to leave, you can stay in your house as long as you want, as long as you meet zoning and village codes, the TIF's not gonna affect you.
Not going to force anyone to sell.
No.
That's correct. That's what I said at the public meeting as well.
Yeah, right.
No.
Okay. Yeah, there's no plan at all on how to spend this money right now. This TIF. The comprehensive plan, correct, will show
The-
what we'd like it to be.
The TIF plan, which he has right there, which was the document to create this TIF that showed the 5 different criteria with the 3 and you had to meet 13, that document does not change. Once that gets approved, village board, that's set in stone for the next 23 years, unless an amendment happens or something, rarely does that happen, right?
To amend this document, we have to go through this whole process
Same thing.
again, another
Right.
meeting, another public
Right.
hearing, all that stuff.
Again, TIF is a funding mechanism. The land use plan is what the sub-area plan of the new comprehensive plan will say. Big picture, Would we like to see this road reduced or not? That's probably going to be in there, right? Would we like to see commercial at this particular node? Maybe, I don't know. We're going to see what, as we continue to go through our public meetings and continue to draft the document, it'll say, what is St. Charles Corridor supposed to look like? Okay? There's not a site-specific plan, nor will there ever be a site-specific, I want that one, I want that one, and I want, so that's the level that we're working at. That document, which I think has been asked for 3 or 4 times, will never exist.
Could you give your name, sir?
Yeah,
Come up here,
please.
please.
Thank you.
Alexander Trifonov. And
Could you write it on there
yeah,
too, so
I'll
we
write
get
it
the
down.
spelling?
My question is, let's say I spend $100,000 to invest in my building, right? And I raise the value of my building, so I'm gonna start paying more taxes, so a lot of those money is gonna go into that bucket. And then 10 years down the road, someone develops a plan to build a retirement community, or whatever you mentioned earlier, right? And it would be perfect to be in this and this and this lot. You know, I can be forced to sell my property and the investment.
So that is the doomsday scenario of eminent domain. That's not what we're talking about.
No, I understand, but
If someone wants
no one
your-
can guarantees that, you know, the problem I have with that
That
is
can happen no matter what. That has nothing to do with
I
TIF.
understand that could
Okay,
happen no matter
as
what.
long as-
Yes, I understand, but it opens the door though, as you are starting to improve or trying to attract new investors into this area, because let's say the current investors don't want to invest in their properties, right? So all of a sudden you start to turning it around and this area here starts to look like a lot more attractive area, and now someone else comes in, I'm like, yeah, I would like to do that, and if I build a building, because you said a couple times that TIF money cannot fund new building, but at the same time you said it that you cannot apply, or if you apply for a facade improvement, very little money will get approved, but if you decide to build a building that is gonna generate that, then we can get approved, so, I mean,
It's not the sticks and bricks. It's the exterior or demolition or land acquisition, all those things, which are usually some of the biggest dollar items on a brand-new project, will get to 75 to 80% of the increment that's projected. So I don't even have to include anything on the
And-
actual building.
The other thing is, let's say, 2 years from now, I like to improve my building, but my plan gets rejected. And I invest the money and my property value goes up and my taxes goes up, but I was rejected. You know, can I go back and say, okay, look, my taxes were 50,000, now they went up to 70,000, and you rejected my plan because you said there will be not enough, you know.
Increment?
Increment, yes. So can I ask back to get reimbursed because I was rejected and that was the wrong decision? Basically, the property taxes, the property value went up and you said it won't?
So that's a very specific scenario.
Yeah.
But anytime you want to challenge your taxes, it's going to be the assessor's office and not us.
Right. But it's just, those are kind of questions that.
Sure,
Going
but,
through my head, you know. it's
which
like-
is fine, but
'Cause there's
if
no-
you made a $100,000 improvement and your property is increased in value of 100,000 plus, right?
Mhm.
That's not a good site for eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
So your argument of, well, now you're just going to take my property,
No,
no, I don't, because exactly.
Right.
Not to mention the
that's
fact
not
that
what we're
the
doing.
amendment says you have to get paid the fair value. And I know there's horror stories out there about people not getting it, but your improvement would then go into and it's a very expensive proposition for us to do that, so,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
Thank
didn't
you.
mean to.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess I did mean to, I shouldn't have, so.
You have to ask too.
And I should ask the village
Okay,
president.
anyone else would like to speak? Okay, hopefully we answered everyone's questions, and I think you guys did a great job.
President Kendall, can I just add one quick thing?
Sure.
So at this web address, surveymonkey.com, Villa Park, that's where you can see the feedback for the,
That's strategic.
this. You have it.
QR
Great.
code for comprehensive plan.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But we also have the strategic plan as well.
Yeah.
So we'd love your feedback.
but grab one of those, and it'll show you how you can give input to this comprehensive plan. Everybody should take one on their way out.
Yeah, for sure.
It says residents, and then there's additional questions for business and property owners that aren't residents on there, so don't be discouraged.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, Trustee Alfano?
And also, I know there's been some discussion on where you can find the additional information on TIF 7. You can go onto the website. I do a Google search for it because it just gets you right there. It's just TIF 7, proposed St. Charles Road, and it'll take you right there to everything that you need to look at.
Okay. Good. Trustee Corky? When are we voting on this? It won't be for a while yet.
And, you have to wait a minimum of
14 days.
14 days from this public hearing.
To 90
You have
years.
14 days to 90 days to act.
Okay. It'll be posted 48 hours before the meeting. All agendas are always posted.
There will not be another formal notice like you've been receiving to date. It'll just be a regular village board agenda item.
Okay.
Just wanted to ask Kevin if you planning on moving forward with creating a due diligence board for the actual TIF funds.
No, that's going to be going through Economic Development Commission. The Economic Development Commission will oversee the TIF along with Director McLaughlin.
Paralleling what he was saying, but that's what it actually costs.
Yeah, which we already have in fact. Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Just to comment off of that, though, I think it is important for me as a trustee, as a board member up here, and the rest of the board, that we are regularly getting updates. And again, I don't know if we have audits or performance measures or compliance measures. Those are the things that I would like the Economic Development Commission to be looking at specifically in each TIF and advising back to the board, I guess with, since you have all the information there, with your help. One thing that I would just like, if you wouldn't mind, just clarifying for the general public, what the difference is between a strategic plan and a comprehensive plan.
Sure. A comprehensive plan is a land use document that helps guide the growth and development of an entire municipality. The current one we're doing is going to have what's called sub-area plans that hone in more so than a normal comprehensive plan would do. We have some very specific areas: St. Charles Corridor, Ardmore, Roosevelt, North Avenue, Villa. So those little sub-area plans are going to be in the overall comprehensive plan. We're a fairly built-out community. The only way we can grow is up. So the idea is that, well, what we'd like to see in these corridors, some rural communities where they got cornfields for days, they're residents, we don't have that, right? So we're gonna have sub-area plans built into that. A strategic plan is a document that the board follows on where they want to move as a village, not from a land use perspective, but more from fiscally, what services do they want to provide, what do you want to do, big picture from parks. It's not a land use document. So there is a divide on those two particular things. They're used in conjunction by these people up here as they vote, but they are not together.
Yeah, and that strategic planning, February 24th?
It's about a 5-year, 3 to 5 year
5 year,
for a
yeah.
strategic plan,
Yeah.
comprehensive plan.
And to follow up, a comprehensive plan is 20 years in life. Because, well,
And just,
with 10-year
At least
kids.
go and look at it.
All right, good. Okay, I'd like to have a motion. Whoop,
I think Kevin had one.
That's okay.
Trustee Alfano has one.
Trustee Alfano?
Oh, just to kind of support what Trustee Patrick was saying, I know that we were talking about having regular quarterly updates on the budget. I'm wondering if we can also include updates on the TIFs.
Sure.
At those regularly updated. I don't know, like, I assume that those would be connected in some form.
I don't know if the TIFs,
The
if you get
TIFs
that
get
much,
an-
if they change that much every quarter.
They don't have that much movement because usually it's an annual payout after the taxes have been collected. So,
Okay.
tax bill, 2 payments, right?
Yeah.
Boom, boom, and then you pay all your redevelopments October, November. So it's one time when you just shell out everything, right? But the TIF does get an annual audit completely independent of the TIF, separate from the rest of the budget. So there's 5 of them sitting on my desk of here's the audit from, or 4 of them, sorry. But that's an annual document that Chuck will have and
Sure.
submit it to you guys. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
I do have one quick question just to piggyback on. Earlier today, you said, well, I'm not sure if it was you or somebody said that basically the success of a TIF district lies in the RDAs that the village creates. My question then to you is that you're the point of contact for RDAs here in Villa Park.
Correct.
Does our Economic Development Commission talk about RDAs, and do they discuss them for an advisory board to us?
Yes, and they are supposed to.
Okay.
I cannot speak to what has happened in the past, but they are supposed to. They'll be having a rebate on the next agenda.
So then moving forward, we should be able to get a report from the Economic Development Commission on every RDA that's established in Villa Park?
Yeah, they'll actually, similar to planning and zoning, they'll make a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Non-binding, just,
Okay, motion to close the public hearing portion of our meeting. Trustee Kozar?
I'll make a motion to close.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Alfano? Okay. Clerk Konecki, can we have a vote?
Yes, Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes, and thank you, everyone, for coming out, and obviously, the director is available. And thanks to Suzanne McVeigh for bringing all of those
Gotta get him 40.
paperwork out. All right,
Consent.
we will move on to our consent agenda. Item 10A is approval of the,
I'm sorry, public comments, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
just
right.
got jumped at.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
I think readers are leaders. Okay, do we have public comments on agenda items?
No, nobody signed up.
Okay. Any public comments on non-agenda items?
No signups.
Okay, seeing none, now we will move to item 10A. It's approval of the minutes from December 18th, 2023 Village Board of Trustees meeting. Item 10B is bill listings from the weeks of December 18th, 2023, December 26th, 2023, and January 2nd, 2024, for a total amount of $2,867,036.52. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Cordova, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Corkery, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, we have no first readings for ordinances. We have the second reading for an ordinance amending Section 3-13A of the Municipal Code of the Village of Villa Park to increase the maximum number of licenses permitted under the Class AA liquor license. Manager Harlan, anything to say?
No, we have had, the applicant has completed necessary background checks and certificate of compliance. This was discussed at a previous meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, a second. Trustee Cordova, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki.
Okay, Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Since I have a liquor license, I'm going to recuse myself, but I
Yes.
wish you the best of success.
Okay, thank you. Trustee and President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, so that does pass. So you're good to go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Two at a time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right.
Spontaneous.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. Item 14A is a resolution approving the final change order number 1 to the contract with Earthworks Land Improvement and Development Corporation of Lisle, Illinois, for the construction of the Jackson Pond Expansion Project for a net deduction in the amount of $96,102.32. These are the ones I like.
Don't take
Mayor
the
Harlan.
elevator.
No. Yeah.
At your own risk.
Yeah.
How long
All
you
right.
want to be here?
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Manager Harling.
The village entered into a contract with Earthworks Land Improvement and Development Corporation of Lisle, Illinois, in the amount of $3,908,192 for the construction of the Jackson Pond expansion project. Proposed final change order number 1 consists of the final balancing contract quantities as measured in the field. The net amount proposed for the final change order number 1 is a deduction of $96,102.32 for an adjusted final contract amount of $3,812,089.68. Staff recommends approval of the resolution, and I just want to say that this was made possible by the application for a competitive grant for flood mitigation that our staff put together. So that's
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second?
I will second.
Trustee Alfano. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Henneke, please.
Okay, Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kosar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Item 14B is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park approving an updated home flood prevention reimbursement program and adopting guidelines therefore. Manager Harline.
This resolution will update the sewer reimbursement program by establishing higher maximum reimbursement amounts and updates the approval process and necessary forms concomitantly. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. This is what we discussed in a couple of Committee of the Whole meetings, and it is now ready for adoption. Director Guerra is here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution?
Make a motion.
Trustee Cordova, second.
I'll second.
Trustee Alfano, questions or comments?
I do have a question.
Trustee
I know
Alfano.
that we did have a family come in, and I wanted to make sure, we had talked about grandfathering them in to make sure that they did get reimbursed. Will that happen when this
Yes,
is-
the effective date for the program is retroactive to June, so it will include that family.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
There are a couple of others, but that one's one of them, yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Henneke, please.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kosar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Item 14C is a resolution for the use of motor fuel tax for section 24-00000-00-GM. Manager Harling.
The village utilizes motor fuel tax, or MFT funds, to help fund the general maintenance activities on the village roadways for the cost of personnel and materials. This includes the purchase of salt, gravel, asphalt materials, sign materials, etc., along with personnel and equipment to perform MFT qualified work. The approved FY24 budget has planned MFT expenditures of $877,056 for general maintenance, and this resolution is required for the use of those funds. Staff recommends approval of this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Cordova, we have a second. Trustee Kozar, questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Henneke.
Okay, Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kosar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, item 15 is unfinished business. I don't believe we have any. Item 16 is new business. I don't believe we have any new business. No commission reports. Village clerk's report.
No report, thank you.
Okay, village trustees report. I'll start on my right. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I have just a few things. First of all, I would like to congratulate Nick Bostian of the 8th grade Villa Park Junior Warriors basketball team. He was recognized and highlighted on their website over the last week as being an outstanding player and for his contributions on and off the court. So congratulations, Nick, on that achievement. With that in mind as well, I'd like to thank the Villa Park Parks and Recreation Director, Director Gola, for opening up the Recreation Center gym for us for a practice that we had during the break. Willowbrook closed down and we didn't have a place to practice, so kind of last minute timing. He allowed us to open it up so that way we could host our practice there for a couple of days actually. So thank you to Director Gola for allowing that to happen. I appreciate that. We have snow coming. I don't know exactly how much, but it is coming. I'd like to remind everybody residents to clear the snow away from your fire hydrants. It helps our first responders in a timely manner, so that way they could get to doing what they need done. So make sure that you clear those fire hydrants away. I think it's about 3 feet on each side surrounding that. Last year, one of our residents, Al Stash, kind of did a thing out in public where you could take a selfie in front of your fire hydrant that was cleared and post it up on Facebook and things like that. So be proud of that. It helps our first responders. Along those lines with clearing snow, the Willowbrook football is accepting requests for snow removal for driveways, sidewalk, and stairs where their players will go out and do that as a free service for the community. If you or someone you know is in need, you can send your request to Coach Nick Hildreth. His email address is nhildreth@dupage88.net. And thank you for everything you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Trustee Cordova?
No, just a general congratulations to our sworn-in officers and sergeant today. That was, it's always nice to see when we have swearing-ins or promotions that the entire departments come out, their families. It's just a really nice showing, so congratulations to all.
Yep, thank you. Trustee Kozar?
I agree. It was good to see the promotions of the officers, the new swearing in. That's kind of the fun stuff of being up here on the board, is to watch that and how it changes people's lives. And I like the fact that, you know, for Officer now Sergeant Ruby, the promotion from within. He's been with our village for a long time. He does a great job. He's been recognized for that, and he's been promoted for that. So I just like seeing promotion from within. It was a good call. I like that we passed the sewer reimbursement increase. That's an example of somebody here in the village having an issue, addressing it to the board, coming to a meeting, talking about, you know, how they feel it didn't work for them. And the board heard them and staff heard them and spent some time trying to improve that. So that's a good example of, you know, how it is a community. Come talk to the board, come to the meetings, and let's try to find solutions. That kind of segues into the public hearing that we had with the TIF. We had a good turnout here and a good discussion on the TIF. And I want to thank President Cazone for allowing more than the normal 3 minutes and being kind of flexible on that. So thank you for doing that. Making sure that everybody was heard and listened to and some questions were answered. So I thought it was a very good kind of dialogue that we had there. And also Coffee with the Board. We seem to have a lot of people that come to Coffee with the Board, more and more. So I encourage anybody the first Saturday of every month. It's less formal, and we kind of sit around and talk. And, you know, the more involvement everybody can have, the better community that we end up being. More input begets better decisions. So please keep coming, keep talking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Alfano?
Thank you. I want to reiterate what the other trustees have said about the officer promotions. It is really exciting to see that and to be a part of that and experience that from this side of the dais. I wanted to reiterate the importance of 211dupage.gov. That's where you can go for health and social service resources. It's for a lot of different things that you need, housing and utilities, disaster services, food, anything that you might need. Just check it out. I know that holidays are over. However, I do know that there are still people who are in need of certain services. So do check that out if you do need some of those services. And Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe with the snow that's coming. If you're not able to reach out to the Willowbrook football coach, which I think is amazing that they're doing that, just take care of your neighbors and check out what's going on your block and help them out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corcoran? No reports. Okay. From the village president's report, couple things. Happy New Year to everyone. Hopefully you had a good holiday season, and 2024 will be a good year for everyone. I'd also like to congratulate our 3 police officers, actually 1 sergeant and 2 officers now. I've known Sergeant Ruby for a long time, and he's your typical Villa Park police officer, very dedicated, loves Villa Park. He loves to see the good things that are happening in the town, and I think it's a great having him as a sergeant now. I think he'll do a great job out there. I'd like to thank everyone that came out for the TIF discussion. Like Trustee Kozar said, we had quite a few. It's good to see that everyone is interested in that. Electronic recycling will be Saturday, Saturday the 20th, 9 to 12 here, Public Works on Home Avenue. You have to be a Villa Park resident, you have to show a driver's license or sometime ID.
They made me show one when I came. So.
Good, yeah. With the snow coming, like, if you wouldn't mind, Director Guerra, just give a quick update on our snow procedures as far as Public Works.
Yes, thank you. We did post them on Facebook today as well as a friendly reminder with it coming. I think they're anticipating 2 to 5 inches in our area. We are kind of on the border between that rain and snow. So procedures are typically, like for this one, we've already pre-salted or pre-treated the roads to help extend that time. But we do have the 2-inch rule, so we do have snow route emergency routes that are posted with signs that over 2 inches, please no parking at that time to allow our trucks the proper width so that we can plow the roads. We do kind of focus on main lines during the snow events to make sure that those are clear, and then we'll work our way back into the neighborhoods on the large events. That's our typical procedures. Obviously, every snowstorm is like a snowflake. They're all unique. So we do we do look at it and manage it effectively, but hopefully it's minimal snow.
Okay, good. You guys do a good job at it. Thank you.
And I think to believe that the one other tip that we always like to do in Public Works is to, if you're shoveling your driveway, shovel with traffic. That way, when the plow trucks do come, they don't just shove all that snow right back into your driveway. So kind of shovel out, shovel down. And speaking on behalf of, I think, the Environmental Concerns Commission, they are looking at also maybe some Golden Shovel Awards, bringing in a program like that to recognize neighbors that help other neighbors. So to build on Trustee Alfano's statement.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Finally, I just want to give just a quick update. I know there's been a lot of conversation about migrants getting bussed up here from Texas. To date, we've only had 3 at our train station. I was at the train station when one of them was there, and our police department and fire department did a great job helping them out. Everything was very calm, very peaceful. At this time, we're just monitoring the situation. I think the county has requested that Office of Emergency Management basically handle any of the buses if there's more than just dropping them off at the station and getting them downtown to Chicago. So we will not do anything. We've talked about passing ordinances. Most of the towns in DuPage County are not passing any kind of an ordinance. So as of now, we will not be, but we will continue to monitor. Major Harline and I are in discussion all the time about that, along with police and fire and all of our, and OEM. So that's the situation as it is right now. And we'll give it to you, Manager Harline.
All right, thank you. I'll try to go quick. I got a couple items. 6, strategic plan surveys are available. We have 516 already.
Nice.
My goal is to beat how many Mark gets for his conference. No, it's not really. That's not, it's on. We also have 6 focus groups. We're looking at residents. We're also looking to set up one of businesses, one of employees, and I'm blanking on the other 2. Community groups / nonprofits, and there's an open. We're just going to see where we get the most applications, so we might add a 3rd community groups. These are 90-minute sessions to get breadth or depth, on a few questions that will help inform this board on making some key choices. We can, like my old boss in Fulton used to say, you can do anything you want, you just can't do everything you want. So it's about prioritization. We'll also be working up some stuff from staff so that you have basically an update on where we are and what are some of our needs, like where we're at with the referendum from 2014 and some other issues that will be facing the board in the next 3 to 5 years. While we're talking about the police department, first of all, this was the 39th officer that you guys put into the budget. So, Officer, guys, how quickly you can forget. I'm sorry?
Raymond.
No, the young woman, Elsa Franco. Sorry. Elsa Franco is our 39th officer, so we're getting close to the 42 we once had, and I'm not saying that, but anyway, so you guys approved for that money, and that happened tonight, so that's something you did. You also may have seen the 2 vehicles out in the parking lot that you guys approved. One of those some of you guys weren't here. I wasn't here when the tractor was ordered, so that gives you an idea of how quickly things were moving back when that was ordered. We also did an employee engagement and satisfaction survey, and we were at about 90, over 100. So second year in a row, we got over 100 surveys. Some of them say, I haven't seen anything change. I'll tell you that right away. But despite that, they still turned in a survey. So there's some hope out there. I mean, I think there are people see that there's some chance. There are a lot who said they feel things have gotten better, but not everybody. And I think one of the reasons is, there's stuff that takes time. So that information will be shared with this board as well. Villa Park staff is, I just already hear you mention that. We also, the board of trustees have also been looped in on where we're at with the situation. So if anyone's studying this meeting and has not fallen asleep already looking over the tape, but it is a fluid situation. We're keeping people informed, but so far, everyone who's come to one of the bus stations, and there are over 100 buses, I think, by now in all of DuPage County, has either been picked up at the station or put on a train headed towards Chicago, where they do have an intake center. And thank you for the discussion. I think the TIF discussion, I was curious if anyone remembers, the last TIF, we tried this about a year ago, and I don't know that we had anybody here. So not everybody was thrilled with everything we had, and there was some suspicion, but they were here. So that means that Mark and his staff are getting out there. People are hearing about it. You guys are discussing it with your constituents. The idea is not just to get people saying we're doing great. The idea is to get people saying what they think that, discussing this. And I will say that this is us trying some things, and I think that that's been the direction from this board, is to look for ways to stimulate economic development. And with that, I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no executive session tonight, so if we can get a motion to adjourn. Trustee Kozar, second. Trustee Alfano, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, well, thanks for sticking around, everyone, and our next meeting will be January 22nd. Watch out for the snow and keep shoveling. Thank you.
Yeah.